Thank you, Eva, and thanks to RLS, FIAN, and CITIM for bringing us all together for these important conversations. To be clear, I work for and here represent millions upon millions of working women and men in public services. We're a trade union federation. We've been around since 1907, and we're in the 160 countries where labor rights are respected and workers are allowed to collectively advance their rights and interests. I think the comment on the beauty contest, every time I see a World Bank document or an OECD document, it's all pictures of smiley people. And it's like, it kills my printer because I'll only read so many pages, so I have to, but it is a total reality. And basically, much of what I've said, Todd, I'm not really happy with your presentation because you've basically stolen all my arguments. And I think you probably went on our website and read them, but no, just kidding. One of the things I did, my accent shows that I'm from Canada, but in about 7 or 8 countries, workers' pension funds have accumulated huge amounts of capital. And we are always told that our fiduciary responsibility is limited to a risk-adjusted rate of return, that we must seek out the biggest return for our investment. And that has led a whole bunch of pension funds representing public service workers to invest in, because they are shown by a number of asset managers, including now the biggest dog on the block, BlackRock, that they can make more money than a normal mutual fund by investing in privatized services. Because the nature of a lot of public services is that A, they're either a monopoly, like your water and sewage system, or an oligopoly, which means you can't have that many institutions providing it, whether it's in energy and education and healthcare and a range of others. And so basically the for-profit sector loves it because we are a captive market and we will spend for those public services that we find essential. And as I said in a meeting just prior to this, organized by the Global Policy Forum, I think that universal access to quality public services is one of the main building blocks of the enjoyment of human rights. If you just unpack that statement, you will see how much of that is true and how much of it is still ahead of us. My specialty in PSI has been fighting the privateers, where governments basically abdicate their responsibility, but a lot of them do it because they don't have enough money and they have to go to the market to borrow. And the market, especially for developing countries, is usurious. In other words, charging huge interest rates for governments who are trying to meet the needs. So the governments then privatize, and there's many forms of privatization. And then the corporations, as Todd said, exist to maximize profits in the shortest time possible and to return as much of that to their shareholders. Now, quick question in the room. Anybody from the UK here? Anybody who gets their water from Thames Water? Yeah, okay. This was one of the beauty contests of Thatcher. She wiped out the debts of the public utility, privatized it free of money to various companies, to the extent that today it's owned by private equity. They have withdrawn so many profits from the water utility, from Maria, your water company, that your water company can no longer treat the shit that they're responsible for treating. Sorry for being blunt. And so they're dumping and polluting tons of beaches and waterways because rather than investing in what they need to have done, they've been siphoning off the money to their shareholders. This is the model of private equity especially, but it's also just a corporate reality. And I think Todd touched on most of those challenges and those issues that governments face when they let the for-profit sector take over your care. You now hear the care economy. So basically, if you got money, you get care. If you ain't, tough luck. And so for us, the point is we've got to understand why there's privatization, who's driving it, what its impact is on workers, clearly, where they outsource us and screw our wages down, on the environment, on tariffs, on access, and on quality. And so for this, and we've heard of the need to figure out development in a way that is responsive to the needs of people and planet, because nature is showing us that when we don't respect her rights, she's going to stomp on us. And for us, one of the things we're looking at there's a couple. One is remunicipalization, taking back into public hands those privatized entities. Another is building public-public partnerships between public utilities, but more help and peer training and learning, and that is actually taking off. And then finally, it's looking at national development banks. There's a ton of national development banks who don't behave like commercial banks in that they don't have to maximize profits. They can look out, as was said, they can look out for 25 years. They can be given a strengthened mandate by their governments. But in order to do that, and any of this requires that we as citizens, as family members, as workers, that we get active, we're more aware, and we put pressure on our democratic institutions. To me, that's the key lesson that we have to take out of this. And I know that on many of these fights, the public service workers are organizing, are mobilizing, and we're spending a lot of effort on training, on knowledge exchange, and we want to join with as many allies as possible. Thanks very much.
Look, I mean, I had a comment about the rating agencies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch's. In the previous panel, I wonder who gave them their mandate and how come they get to decide who is worthy of investment and who isn't. Clearly for us, everything starts with strengthening our public institutions, not weakening them. We've been weakening them since the 70s, basically. And I gotta say, I'm glad I don't have to deal with Cargill, Monsanto, and those other agricultural giants. Everything I hear about them and the people who end up working under them directly or indirectly is totally miserable. And these are the people who put their lives to feed us every day. So more power to FIAN and to the agricultural workers unions, because those companies are monsters. Thanks.